We're back. This is Steve Sanson, Jim Jonas for another episode of Veterans in Politics. We're going to have an exciting show today. We're going to have Michael McDonald, who is the Nevada State Republican Party chairman. We've known Michael for many years, but we'll let him give us a bio. How you doing, Mike?
Good, man. Thank you all for being here.
All right, good.
You guys actually helped get me in office, so it's the longest, Pat Cassell says reigning champion. So I'm the longest reigning chairman, and it's a lot of thanks to you guys that, with the issues and being there to move this party along. Because you remember in the beginning, it wasn't too easy. It was pretty, it was in many different fractions and shambles.
True.
So that we appreciate
the Ron Paul fusion.
We had Ron Paul, we had the Tea Party, we had, you can imagine, conservatives, the liberals, you name it, we had
we had everybody.
Everybody. It was a big tent, but everybody was fighting.
Yeah. Right. But everybody had a Republican behind their name. Yeah. But some of them really weren't.
Republicans. Right. That's right, though. Yeah, no, I appreciate it, man. Thanks for being here.
So tell us about yourself. Let's go back to when you were on Metro.
Oh, man. Born and raised in Las Vegas.
Okay.
It's probably the greatest city to ever be a part of. Went to UNLV. Became a Metropolitan Police Officer, Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Officer.
Right.
Which for me was probably one of the greatest times. I had some really strong leaders. Stavros Anthony was one of my sergeants. Dennis Cobb was my lieutenant. Just a few. I had great, but some highlights on that.
So you knew Stavros back then?
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool.
At a personal level, he was a guy that probably one of the great leaders because I was a field training officer.
Right.
And he would actually expand on where to help your career. Where do you want to go? What do you want to be? So we'd work through different issues. I was heading for SWAT, and everything was. I knew where I wanted to be, and this is where I was going. And I got hurt off duty, which was very frustrating because you have everything going that way. Yeah. And it kind of recalibrated everything. And I had some good captains. So they said, well, we're going to keep you in light duty, but you're still going to be a training officer. So I stayed on that and kept working along the way into that. And then I got hurt saving a baby's life. So I've been, I got 2 medals of honor from the city of Las Vegas. I've got 4 medals. I got a medal of valor. I've decorated pretty well.
You got a lot of medals.
Yeah, and it was due to the leadership I had before, and saved a couple lives. I went to fire one time. You got to respect the firemen. I may give them a hard time, but I can tell you that is a job that is intense. I went in to save a family with a couple of us, and I burned off this. I burned off my mustache. Couldn't have a goatee back in the day. So I burned off the mustache, my eyebrows. That I've never. It's so intense. It was a house fire. Our squad went in and rescued them, and it was so intense. I'll never take a joke as a fireman. So you got to love those guys when they go in and do it. But it's did that, and I had to coughen up all the black stuff. So out of that came into.
Well, somebody that goes right towards gunfire. How come you never served in the military?
It's just kind of one of those things. I was looking to go in the military. I was actually going to become a Marine. My father was in the Navy, so I was going to go.
He's going to piss him off. Huh?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. God bless, my uncle's buried next to a Marine. He was in the Army. So my whole family's military.
Okay.
So I was going that way. All my uncles, I was heading that way, and kind of got to football. Took me to college. So, and then that rolled into Metro. But it's the same thing. Like it's a different calling when people in the military and what they respond to, and police officers. You run into a situation when everybody else is running out, and I like to think of it, not to get real religious, but it's a calling. I think it's.
You miss it?
Yeah. Oh, immensely. I miss the camaraderie. I miss the action. When you see someone curling code as you're going by, you're like,
that could have been me.
Yeah, you miss the adrenaline. Yeah. It's hard to explain to somebody who hasn't been in the military or hasn't been in law enforcement, but that adrenaline is the most.
I guess that's why I'm in politics.
Yeah, it's the same. Yeah, day to day, it's the same thing with the Republicans here. But it's great when you look at it and you look back. I met the girl whose life I saved. That actually changed my course of life.
So how old was she when you saved her life?
She was, I think, 3.
And how old is she now?
I don't know what she was now. How many years ago? She's in her 20s, I think.
Wow.
Yeah. It was incredible.
Amazing, huh?
Yeah.
How did you feel when she approached you?
It was nice. It was through a mutual friend, and we were on TV together. And they showed a picture of her. She was just a baby. We were transporting, on this episode, we were transporting a baby to Child Haven.
Right.
It was kind of a family situation. So won't go into it. We transported her. Nothing, it wasn't bad. It was just kind of like a domestic violence. So we're transporting, and person ran a red light at 28th and Bonanza. Hit our patrol car and put us in. There's a huge one of those transformer poles right there. So I had the baby, and I grabbed the baby, and we were, ironically, we were just transitioning to get baby seats for Metro, because we never had it before. So I pulled the baby up and shielded the baby with my body, and my knee just exploded.
Wow.
So that was kind of like one of those things where, okay, well, now you're going to go a different direction. That's where the Dennis Cobb came in, and Lieutenant Dennis Cobb, now he retired from Metro a long time ago, but his philosophy was community policing. Was community policing, but you're a peace officer, not a police officer.
How come you never ran for sheriff? Is it still maybe,
no,
in the cards?
No, look, what I've learned, never say never. I've learned to never say never.
Right.
I mean, because in my life I've been blessed. I never thought I'd be an elected official. I never thought I'd be friends with the President of the United States.
Right. That's cool.
It's different. When you look at where your destiny takes you sometimes,
right.
I'm very comfortable in my element around, I'm a working class guy. So if I'm with the unions, I'm with veterans, I'm in a situation, I'm very comfortable there. Because
Right.
there's no hidden agenda. You get back to DC, and I joked with the president, I said, if I come back to DC, the White House, I'm knocking people out.
How did they get you in the White House with your staunch record you got there?
Oh man, I'm loving it. You kidding me?
Did you
Great.
pass that background check?
Yeah, several times. As a matter of fact, I gave him your name, so I'm okay.
So you went from Metro, and you've been injured on Metro. Is that why you went for elected seat for city council?
Yeah, because my parents were heavily involved in politics,
Right.
and Paul Laxalt was actually the reason I became Republican. They were Democrats, they were the Irish need not apply, the whole immigration story when they came. My grandfather came over, so that's where they were brought into, and as I turned 18, Paul Laxalt was a friend of the family, and my family knew Senator Reid, and they knew Governor Michael Callahan.
So you grew up with Adam?
I grew up with everybody. No, I didn't know Adam. Adam was, I knew his grandfather.
Okay.
And that's how I became Republican. Okay. You got him, and you have, different people that influenced along the way.
Right.
And then, he took me to meet President Reagan.
Okay.
And, then I was heavily involved in politics at UNR, or UNLV. Right. And it was something that was pretty cool. It was something that I never thought I'd go into, but then the transition into, after I was injured,
Right.
We had the neighborhood I grew up in, right down the street. It was in a transitional stage. It started going down, and everybody's like, we went to a meeting, and they said, why don't you run for office? We need to save our neighborhood. Because at the same time, I was working in Community 89109. Because after I got hurt, I'm on light duty.
Right.
And we went in the community, we worked with business owners. Anytime you work with business owners, you start talking about the economic impact of what crime means to your business.
Right.
And exposed it, and Thea Dundaro, God rest her soul, she took me to lunch at the country club, and she says, you're doing so much. We created a project called Community 89109. It was in Thea's area. And wonderful woman, big leader. And we put together a project using county resources, right. Business resources in the Metro. So I was the Metro guy, and just built it from there. So we used that. We got national recognition. We won the Weber Stevie Award, which is big in policing, about bringing back a community. Built that, first one Metro's ever won. We were the first ones to do it. And out of that started coming all the publicity and stuff. And our area was going down, so the neighbors said, hey, why don't you run for office? We got in, ran against
What year was this?
94, when it was going down. So I was about 28, 20, yeah. So 95 was the election. And it was
that was the same year I moved here.
Yeah, it was with my father. So my father, we used to always go walk over to that fountain every night after dinner.
Yeah.
And take the dog, my pit bull, Boz. Took him for a run.
Is Boz still alive?
Nah, I lost Boz, man. I got new ones, man. I got new ones. You got to come see these guys. Took him for a run, and I said, what do you think, Dad? I said, there's a lot of stuff we want me to run, because if you run, you don't get your name recognition. You go out there, you run, you put everything you have into it. Right. So it was my birthday. We decided to run, and we had nobody to help us, because I was running against a hero. Frank Hawkins was he's not only a friend, he's a neighborhood hero. He's a guy who played for the Raiders, He broke all the records at UNR. He's just
Probably wanted to beat you up.
No. he would have killed me, man. You ever see Frank? Frank's stout. I gave him a run for his money back then. Right now, he's got me now. But he's just a very smart businessman. He had a lot going for him, and like anything, it's a matter of it was a clean campaign. It wasn't bad. The other people that ran against him used all the BS. We ran a clean campaign, and that separated us. I mean, we came out the gates, which was funny. So election night of the primary, you have it was like the horse race. They named everybody but me, and I was the last because I was coming out the gates. Right. And we're like, hey, I said, did you guys even go out and campaign? But the campaign was done. It was done pretty good. We had a lot of people that we thought were going to be on our side turned their back on us. A lot of people that
Nasty
came out of nowhere.
politics.
That was my first real taste of it.
They say you always know who your friends are when your back is against them.
Yeah, or when you're down.
Yeah.
When you're down and they think you're dead, buddy, everybody leaves you, especially in this town.
When you win money, you can't trust nobody.
Oh, no.
Hey, Mike, so before I got some other questions that are more like national stuff, but I really like listening to your background. And one of the things that I've been really pushing lately when I talk to people and other candidates.
That's a nice hat, by the way.
Isn't it? And shirt.
And just in general, when they say they're disgusted with politics, right? And all politicians are crooks, criminals, I don't want anything to do with it. And I tell them, well, technically the voters were their bosses, right? So shame on us for not holding them accountable. But one of the things is like just listening to your background, how would you encourage people to get involved like you did? Because there's so many people that they're either completely turned off and so they don't get involved at all, or they just listen to one, like if they don't like Trump, so they're going to listen to whatever they hear from MSNBC or CNN or whatever, or the vice versa. The people that are only going to listen to Fox News. How would you encourage younger people to get themselves more educated and get involved early at a grassroots level?
Well, that's a great question. So one thing you can never do is let someone define you. That's like when you look at, I was big in the Republican Party, and President Clinton was in when I was going to run. Mm-hmm. And he came to UNLV. Well, as you get into college, it's an experience because you go from living underneath your parents' roofs, now you're independent, so everybody wants to become freedom, and the biggest freedom you have is I'm going to become a liberal and no one's going to tell me what to do. And then you start realizing when you start making money, you're like, wait a minute, how much they're taking on my paycheck? So then you start rolling back, you're like, wait a minute.
All right.
So, never let anybody define you. That's my biggest thing. Mm-hmm. When people run for office now, I said, they are, President Trump. I said, good, that's great. You're here for President Trump, but you have to define to the district you're running in, to the ward you're running in, who you are and what you're going to do. There's some areas where President Trump is, you could walk in and it's a red district. Mm-hmm. And they're the first thing I ask you, where do you stand with President Trump? And that's fine, define it. There's areas that are blue that we have Republicans running in. And they're going to ask you where you stand with President Trump. Define it. But here's what I'm doing for you. That's the biggest point. President Trump, and this is from his mouth, he wants everybody to win. He wants a better, in Nevada, especially in Nevada, he wants a better city. He wants more opportunity. Mm-hmm. And he wants people to run and represent the people. That's his biggest thing. He wants everybody to have an opportunity that I think where the economy was stifling a lot of people, where he's opened up the economy, mm-hmm. where he's opened up opportunities for people. That's what he likes. So if you're going to become and you're going to run for office, define who you are. And then obviously look around. If you can't come out off the couch and say, I'm going to run for Congress or I'm going to run for Senate. You have to have a realistic goal. And why are you doing it? Like when I was running, it wasn't because I wanted name recognition. My area was on the downturn, mm-hmm. and it wasn't so much Councilman Hawkins at the time, it was his staff. And they're good people, but they had a different agenda, which was suffering in ours. And as a councilman, you can only go in so many different directions. So that was something where We worked together, and even after I won, Councilman Hawkins then kind of guided me and said, look, at City Hall, here's what's going to happen. Here's where you have to look. Here's your vision. So it was a good transition. He's a Democrat, I'm a Republican. I think he's a Republican now. So anyway, but he's a good businessman. He knew the game. It's about taking care of your constituents. If you're doing it because you want name recognition, you've already lost before you come out. You better have a game plan when you sit down. And I never have what we have now. What now I provide for people is we have schools. You can go to school and it tells you how to set up a campaign. We haven't had this ever. So, who's your campaign manager? Who's your finance manager? What's your platform going to be? What's your plan to raise money? How do you intend to approach the people? Do you know your district? What are the highlights in your district? What are the negatives in the district? So we try to bring that out and say, look, here's what you have to run. And then we have people come in that run campaigns, and they can listen to them and talk.
When you were on the city council, weren't you the sole Republican there?
Yeah.
For a while?
Yeah. Actually, there was only 2 Republicans, myself and Bruce Woodbury, in the entire Southern Nevada.
When you were a city councilman, what ward did you represent?
Ward 1.
Ward 1?
It was a heavy Democratic district.
Yeah. Well, I was just curious
Yeah.
because I know the lines have been redrawn because originally, I'm in Ward 5 now.
Yeah.
But originally, when we first
4.
moved there in '95, I can't remember if I was 1 or 4.
Where at?
Because I don't
What area?
I don't live very far from you. I live in Rancho Manor.
Okay, you were in Ward 1.
Yeah.
Rancho, yeah, Ward 1.
You're in Scotch 80s, right?
I'm in, that's the mayor. I'm in Rancho Nevada. So we're Rancho and Alta.
Yeah.
So-
So we literally, I can walk to his house in
Yeah.
about 5 minutes.
Do you? Does he invite you over?
No, never.
I'm never there. I wish I was.
Bruce Woodbury was a city councilman?
He was a county commissioner.
Oh, okay.
So if you look
Right.
at Southern Nevada, we didn't have many Republicans, and it was kind of a different time that everybody got along. I mean, it was kind of one of those things where you work and live. I was the only, when I ran for office, I was the only Republican besides Governor Kenny Gwynn that had full union support.
So there's more Republicans on the city council now
Yes.
than ever.
Yes.
Why is the state still blue?
Well, I think when you look at a lot of things, there's no one way to point to somebody. You know for a fact that we lost a lot of Republicans in the legislature. In 2014, we took the state by storm.
Right.
And it was a game plan when we sat down to analyze what's our opportunity. They had no one running for governor. The Democrats, in any election, it's human nature. You have to have a reason to go vote.
Right.
Especially in Las Vegas. We're talking about a 3-shift town.
Well, isn't because it's your patriotic duty? Isn't that reason enough?
No.
No,
Especially
unfortunately,
with this
it's
new
not,
generation.
right,
This
yeah.
new generation, it's all
Yeah.
about me. They don't respect the offices. Look how they're treating the president right now. I just left a friend of mine.
Tearing up the State of the Union.
Right.
On national TV.
Unbelievable.
For the world to see.
Right, which shows it actually belittles her. It belittles the people that she represents. It's something where you have to understand that you're bigger than that.
If a Republican would have done that, they would have been fried.
Of course. And that's when you start to look at as you start to move forward, you have to be able to say to people that you represent.
Yeah.
And the issue right now is you're moving forward in life, especially down here. When we win, everybody's like, oh, we won. When you lose, they're like, I had nothing to do with it. It's the human nature.
Right.
This, especially this election, and this is something we've all talked about, everybody's involved. There is no sidelines. Either you're in the game or you're out. There's no one person you're going to blame for this one. After the last election, and like I said, in 2014, we took everything by storm. Then they go to the legislature. They vote to have the largest tax hike in the entire state history. A lot of people that are following politics, they're like us, that are in the games, that I don't need this anymore.
Right.
And they either become independent or they just don't vote anymore. What excites them is this guy. They're coming back. They like, because regardless if you love the man, hate the man, don't care about the man, whatever, he keeps his word. And I'll tell you, I was just with somebody who was a very strong, we were at breakfast and with Joe Weaver.
Uh-huh.
And Joe and I had breakfast, went over, saw a friend of mine. He's a big Dem, knows President Obama, worked for President Obama. And he's voting for President Trump.
Right.
He's 100% behind President Trump because of what he's been able to accomplish. He did a lot on West Las Vegas, a lot for the black community. And he likes what President's going with in highlighting maybe the jobs and what's happening there. So here's a strong Democrat that was with President Obama, still a strong Democrat, but he's voting for the president.
One of the things that I really like about President Trump is that every president that I have known in my lifetime, like I was 12 years old when Reagan left office, but every president since then has always known that basically China is screwing us. Like every president's known that, but they've just been too afraid to do anything about it. And one of the things I like about Trump is I think, in the way I look at it is, in a lot of ways, Trump is dealing with China the same way that Reagan dealt with the Soviet Union militarily.
Yes.
Like, okay, so yes, by imposing tariffs on China, yes, it is going to have some temporary pain here in the United States, but in the long run, it's going to benefit us, and our system can handle it better than their system.
Right, and I can tell you, look, it's, the difference between Reagan and President Trump. Reagan had Tip O'Neill on the other side.
Right.
Now they would battle, but then
they
would
were
go
friends,
eat.
yeah.
They'd go eat and have dinner and that's something where it's become so divisive now with the Democrats and and they're wearing the pink hats or they're wearing the white shirts. Or everything's a protest. Instead of trying to work together, find a way to work together. Everything has to be a statement. Ripping up of the speech.
How much money did they spend on this whole impeachment?
You're talking almost, now this is taxpayer money. You're probably about $40 million between the impeachment and the Russian scam. And nothing came out of it. So you spent all this taxpayers' money. Nothing's getting accomplished in Congress. Congress has the lowest rating in history because they just don't trust them. They don't like them. They're not doing anything but making noise. And it's not because they disagree on policy. They actually hate the president so much that they have to go. And my problem is this: as a person, I would never follow anybody like that. I would never. We don't need Congress. All you do is let Nancy Pelosi speak on this side,
right?
And that's whatever she says, they're doing.
In the military, when I was in the military, we didn't even take a side as far as political party. We were all independent. Right. Well, the ones I knew were all independent because it doesn't matter who the president is. You still have to follow the orders and you still have to respect the office.
Right.
So that's exactly the position we took.
And that's what that's. I think that goes to the military. It also goes to my law enforcement. I didn't agree with President Obama, but he was my president. And I would have taken a bullet for him. He's the president of the United States. Exactly. There's no doubt in my mind. I mean, there wouldn't even hesitate, because that in my life, if I could save the president's life, absolutely I would. Now that I have a friendship with the president, it's a whole different world. Now it's a whole different realm.
Now you'll take 2 bullets.
I'll still be standing. I've been shot before. I'm like, that's all you got. Well, what disgusts me the most, and I can say it right now, I don't want to say this on camera, which disgusts me the most is Mitt Romney.
I saw that. I saw that.
I mean, the sickness, he's a gutless coward. He's trash. Because I was there in 2012 when he was begging and falling all over President Trump. Oh, I gotta have your endorsement, please. I was there when he endorsed him. He did everything but kiss him. I mean, it was disgusting. Wow. So then you fast forward to 2016. Yeah. Now we're on the campaign trail. That's actually doing a fundraiser for the president in Orange County. When he came here, put all our elected officials on stage and denounced President Trump because of the comments, when nobody cared about those comments. But he had to grab the limelight. He had to be the beacon of moral ground. He's not. He's not. He doesn't care about the working class people. When things are off camera, he's a dirtbag. He's a total dirtbag. I've seen him off camera. I've seen him behind the curtain. Okay?
Is he going to remain a senator?
He's a phony. Yeah, he does. But he's a phony. But anytime he has an opportunity, he's right there. Don't forget, this guy started out as a liberal. Mitt Romney was a liberal when he was back in Massachusetts.
Well, think about his healthcare record.
Right, his healthcare record. That's where President Obama got some of the stuff. Yeah. So when you look at somebody like that, and then, I'm with the president, I can't stand the president. When he got elected, I want to be Secretary of State. 2017, he's falling all over him again. When he didn't get that, then he became.
Well, you saw what happened here with those people running for office here. What was it that went against President Trump?
That's what I'm talking about. 2016. I was flying. I was coming out of Orange County, leaving we're doing something for the president. And our executive director called me and says, hey, they're about to go on stage and denounce Donald Trump. I said, get him on the phone, because I like Joe Heck. Joe Heck, I love him. I love his wife. Yeah. I'm like, Joe's making a mistake, man. He's a military guy. I love him. He's making a mistake. Get him on the phone. I'll get the president on the phone, or Donald Trump on the phone. And you could not go on that stage. I said, if he goes on that stage, he's going to lose. He went on that stage, By the time I landed in Las Vegas, it's what, 50-minute flight? I went to my house, which, we're right there.
Yeah.
So it's what, 15 minutes to the airport?
Right.
I had at least 2 dozen Joe Heck signs, 2 dozen Crescent Hardy signs, and just thrown on my lawn outside my gate. They didn't want nothing to do with everybody. When they were talking, no, if you were at that event, the minute he started announcing them,
Who threw that on your lawn?
everybody, they literally, they walked away. People at that rally walked away. Mm-hmm. And it's a cause of Mitt Romney's selfishness. And then, like I said, in 2017, he was all over, I want to be Secretary of State. Oh, he was all over. I love President Trump. He's the greatest.
Right.
Went back to the golf course in New Jersey. Oh, I love him. I think he's great. Here we are today.
It's funny you say that about Mitt Romney, because I remember in 2008 when everybody was, a lot of people were upset that Mitt Romney didn't win the primary here in Nevada. And then when McCain ended up being the vice or the presidential candidate, and then everybody was really in Nevada was really pushing to have Mitt Romney be the VP, vice president, and I was like, no, you do not. I mean, Sarah Palin, that we can get into that. That's a whole nother story. But I was like, there's just something, like, I don't know him personally, but I've shaken hands with him a couple times, and I've listened to a couple of his speeches, and I said, there's just something about that guy that just is weird.
He shakes your hands weak. It's like we're shaking a dead fish.
Yeah, it's
the
like,
other thing I can't stand
weird.
is everybody that invokes God. Like, I'm a very devout Catholic, and my religion I keep to myself. I don't pound on my chest. And I have many big friends that are leaders in the LDS church, that are in the Christianity. I have friends of mine that are in the Muslim church. So you never hear them always invoke their religion. Yesterday when he started making that speech, I couldn't hold myself back. Normally I would never do this, but I'm done with it. When he started making that speech,
Are you talking about the post on Facebook you did this morning or last night?
Or something like that, yeah.
Okay.
It was so difficult, because here's a man who wants to invoke God, his family, this and that. I pray so much. You know what? You're a devil in sheep's clothing, man. That's exactly what you are. Because anytime you have to invoke your religion to hide behind it so you can get your message out, you're a coward to begin with. Yeah. You're blaming on God that you have to make this decision. I prayed to God. At least, stand up and be a man who you are. You just basically come out and say, I can't stand President Trump. I don't like President Trump. I would have more respect for you. I respect Nancy Pelosi's position and the rest of the people, because at least they're truthful. They do not like the president.
Right.
They come out
That's
and
why some people put a Republican put a Democrat in office, because at least they know what they're going to get.
Right. Right. I'll take that person when I know that that's my opposition. That's the person I'm going against, rather than a turncoat, which I've had people who stab me in the back, like a Mitt Romney.
Yeah.
Mitt Romney literally helped ruin this state when the antics he pulled here.
So
sorry.
So real quick, so to move forward a little bit, so
I was trying to get him to move backwards a little bit.
Let's go back in time.
So let's focus on Nevada.
Sure.
And so what's the plan for the Republican Party here in Nevada? Because overall, I think, like, I have a ton of respect for you.
Thank you.
And I'll tell the viewers right now, like, and I'll try not to choke up, but like the two of you sitting at this table, like, my mom just absolutely adored. Because I remember that night at that chairman's thing that anyway. I spoke my mind a little too much, but anyway, so it was, but I was out, doing what I needed to do and talking to people.
That was when you ran up against Richard Scotty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so anyway, long story short, like, there was some stuff that happened that night, and like my mom's, to her dying day, said Steve Sanson and Mike McDonald were my saviors that night.
That's awesome. Thank you.
So
God bless her.
I really appreciate that. But so, like, now Nevada is pretty much, unfortunately, is pretty much a blue state now, and I think there's a lot of dynamics to go into it. I think a lot of the people moving in from California, unfortunately, like, they're moving out of California into Nevada because of high taxes in California, but they tend to vote for the same type of people that are going to raise their taxes. So what's the plan to get candidates on the Republican side that will be more attractive to turn the state back red?
Well, it's good. I think, we have Very active, a lot of activity happening in Clark County Republican Party, in Washoe, and the other 15 counties. We have a total of 17 counties, but there's a lot of activity that's happening to find the right ones. You have to have people that are going to go in those districts. And I go back to the original statement. You have to know your district. If you're this district right here for the Assembly and the Senate is totally different than if you do the one in Henderson or if you do the one in North Las Vegas. They're different districts. They have different needs. And you have to know your district. When you're at someone's door and you're saying, look, here's what I intend to do. Even if they bring up, well, where are you with the president? Well, that's, we're not here for the president. I'm here to tell you why I'm running for this district. That's going to appeal to a lot of people more than where do you support the president. When you get down to it, it has to be something that goes forward. Now, that said, we're back in the 2014 situation. The Democrats have no real message. And that doesn't really fall. I blame the DNC more than I blame local politics. I mean, to say I don't know the Democrats here, of course I know them. They're friends of mine. It's like playing football. Right. They're friends of mine. They're on the opposite team. I don't run someone down because they're Democrat and I'm Republican. But I believe our form of leadership is different than theirs, and we are able to show the contrast. If you elect me, my taxes are going down. Elect you, your taxes are going up. Things like that affect the bottom line at the kitchen table when you're having that discussion. What affects you? Obviously, health care. You're taking care of our senior citizens, taking care of children. Where's the school of choice? That should have been the first thing. We want our children to have more than we've ever had. When you deliver that message, you have to be able to deliver with confidence in your district. And
the ACLU messed up the school choice.
And you know what? If we had a strong leadership at the governor's mansion, it would have passed. Yeah. I'll just leave it at that. Well, that was on the table. And it was supposed to be on the table. It was supposed to go through. Dan Schwartz was pushing it.
Are you talking about Sandoval?
I'm not talking about that. I'm telling you right now is there should have been, that bill should have been passed. It was on the table for Schwartz, and I think Michael Roberson was working with it, and a couple other people. That bill should have passed. It should have been done. It should have been done and over with, because that right there was, when you get into issues like that, they can't be politics. Yeah. It has to be something where you're talking about the future of Nevada. That has to benefit our children. Yeah. You want strong leadership. So stuff like that, when you're looking at it, you have to have that. You have to have that type of leadership that you're going across party lines to say, look, forget about your Democrat Republican. This is about people in my district, people that I represent in my assembly district, my Senate district. What's better for Nevada? That's the important part. And if you can't deliver that message when you're at the door, you're not going to be able to deliver it at a rally.
So let's go back to your bio.
Sure.
How long were you in city council for?
8 years.
8 years.
Yep.
And then you went from city council to your current position now. And how long you been state party chair?
8 years. And I got 2 more to go. So I'll be at 10 years by the time I'm totally done. I'm the
why did you leave the city council to state party chair?
Well, it was kind of like a transition, because at the time they had there was an investigation of the G sting, right? And the whole thing, and I got they said I was a part of the investigation.
They did call you Teflon.
No, I don't know what they called me. I don't know. They called me beat up punching bag by the time I was done.
Hey, Teflon's not a bad. They named Reagan that. They called him the Teflon Don.
Yeah. When you look at what happened, though, they popped that investigation the day before early voting. So I went from like 1,500 votes up to like 800 votes down in 24 hours.
They knew how to ruin a campaign.
Oh, they did, and it's actually against their policy. It's actually illegal what they did. Yeah, and the one that pointed out was a reporter who's very in-depth. He does in-depth investigations, Steve Sebelius. And he says actually what they did was illegal. Well, who are you going to tell? There's the federal government. Yeah. And look, they're the best of the best. The FBI is the best. I mean, when they come in and investigate, they investigate everything. Them, the IRS. And so I was like, look, I don't have anything wrong. And I'm telling you, they went through City Hall A to Z, and by the time they got done, they said, well, you're right. You're clean.
After you got,
but after I'm like done, right? So, right. Yeah. I'm like, well, that's great. So went through with that and the investigation. Then they investigated everybody.
You're talking about the race with Moncrief?
Yeah, Jenna Moncrief.
Did I pronounce it right?
Jenna Moncrief. Yeah. So she won, and then she got indicted and recalled. Yeah. And she got recalled with that, and they wanted me to run again. And at that time was the kind of transition between business and politics. Yeah. And by the time that she got recalled and put in, we put up Lois Tarkanian, who was our neighbor. Yeah. And Lois, I've known Lois and Jerry for, they're friends of the family forever. Yeah. So she was the right choice. She put it in, and Vicki Quinn she ran with Lois, and she became a planning commissioner. So they had a great They had a great team there. They protected the neighborhood and did the projects. And then, so at that point, it was kind of like, well, I stayed in business. And then came, ironically, what happened in New Hampshire, what happened in Iowa, happened here. Remember, they had the split in the caucus. They had a caucus in the morning and a caucus at night. And you think back to the days, man. I was never a party leader. I was the guy that funded parties, and
you and I used to be sergeant at arms.
Yeah, sergeant at arms. We sit in the back of the room, buy people cocktails, and food, and
right.
So it was a different time. It was a better time.
Yeah.
And when I was more supportive because I was making money. So I didn't have time for politics. So I'd stay involved, and Chris Carr was probably one of the greatest leaders we have, and he's number 2 in the Trump campaign. Yeah. So he was always, I'd help him, I'd work on campaigns, we'd do all the fun stuff. Well, in 2012, they had the caucus, and it was a huge split. And if you remember, it took 3 days to count the ballots in Nevada.
Yeah.
3 days. It was the most, short of corrupt, inept counting ever. And I got called from the RNC. Now think about this, you and I are in the sergeant arms in the back of the room, and all of a sudden the RNC calls and says, we got problems. We need you at the Sheldon Adelson School, and that's literally what happened. So the RNC says, we need you at Sheldon Adelson School. I get called up to Sheldon Adelson to kind of keep the peace, because I knew everybody. You and I knew both sides of the aisle.
Yeah.
So we're up there, and then at the time, I think Dave Gibbs was the chairman for Clark County, and Dave and I are on CNN counting votes for Romney and Paul. I left there. I went to get something to eat because I was supposed to take my dad out that night, and we ended up going. So my sister took him out to eat, and went out with some friends to get something to eat. Peppermill, world famous Peppermill, fireside chat, and had a good chat.
Is that where you went to the fireside party?
Oh yeah, you know that. I'm old school, baby. I was born and raised here. Just got something to eat, came back, and they were still counting votes, and it must have been like 2 a.m. at the county office. Next morning, I had a phone call at 6 o'clock, Chris Carr. He says, we need you over at the campaign office. We got problems with the Ron Paul attorney and the Mitt Romney attorney. So I got called back over there, and it was Super Bowl Sunday. And you know how Super Bowl Sunday, in my house, it's a religious day.
Right.
And I went over there, and I said, look, that's great. Jim DeGraffney was there. He flew in from Reno. And he was secretary at the time and did a really good job. So we maintained that, left, and then that's when, kind of like the RNC says, we need you to run the state because we're not getting any leadership. Okay. And that's literally how the whole thing happened.
So you're the longest serving county state party chairman. Yeah. You ever thought of going national?
No.
No? Not with the RNC?
Look, I love Nevada. I love Las Vegas. That's probably, I was asked 3 times to go to the White House. And one thing I can tell you with President Trump, he's big on loyalty, and there's no one loyal. I mean, I'm the pit bull on the block.
Right. You
attack him, I'm coming after you.
Right.
And a person has to know his place, and I think sometimes this is my place. I have.
Well, you know what Clint Eastwood said? A man's got to know his limitations.
Right. And I know that it's literally a swamp back there. I mean, when you go back there,
it's a swamp here.
But it's getting it's nowhere as bad. I mean, you go back there, and you're talking to somebody, and they're trying to cut your throat at the same time.
Yeah.
And you just don't know what side it's going to come from, Republican, Democrat. And you saw with Mitt Romney. Here's a guy who's going in. He wanted to be on the righteous side or whatever he tried to define himself yesterday.
Yeah.
And he tried to basically put in power Nancy Pelosi's group, the Chuck Schumer group. He's not on the right side. He's an idiot.
You have power over the legislators in Carson City.
No, we work together. It's about, my job as state party chairman is to bring the resources in. Because everybody has this great defined, they think, you're the overlord, you're this and that. My job is to clear the path for the
overlord.
Yeah, no, I've been called everything. I've been called a lot worse too. But you look at my job as state party chairman is to plow the road for the elected officials that want to run for office. Anybody who a candidate wants to run for office. Yeah. And then once they're our candidate, we got to plow the road, and we have to be the shield for our legislators at the time, regardless if they're left or conservative or whatever. We have to be able to stand the blows because they're going to take them at the legislature. In the past, we've never, before I got in, we never really had somebody that would do that. They'd want to play politics inside the legislature. And that's not our job. Yeah. And that's something that we've had to turn that tide. And then as a national, as you start talking about that, my job is also to repair the relationship with the RNC. Our relationship with the RNC when I took over was garbage. We were
Yeah.
the last state party. Last. Think about this.
Yeah.
We were 50 out of 50,
No,
and no one wanted to do anything to do with us. I mean, we were like, we were the
Why was that?
because there was no leadership, there was no security. When they put money in here, sometimes one time, I don't know the exact time it was, but they took the money and spent it where it wasn't supposed to go. We had other times where they wouldn't follow the regulations they're trying to put forward, so the FEC looked at it. Other times you just couldn't trust them. You couldn't, and that's I'm not saying fault because I don't know the exact situation. I'm just telling what I was told. Right. So that's how when we started looking at it, we came in and started repairing that relationship. And don't forget the caucus. We were voted the worst caucus in America in 2012. I mean, we were the laughing joke. We were on every front page. We were on the, we were the Ohio of 2012. Yeah. And then when you go fast forward to 2016, we were voted the best caucus in America. So we had to switch that. And we became a running partner with the RNC, which we are now. I mean, we are number one with the RNC.
Oh wow!
And that's big because you're looking at the
50
money.
to number one.
Yeah, you're looking at people that are coming in, and we're not that big of a state. You look at Texas. You look at some of the other states. Yeah. We work with all of them. I mean, I get along pretty much with all the state chairmen.
So real quick, that brings me to a really good point. You could probably articulate this a little bit better than me. I've had this brought up to me so many times, and like, just not to play politics with it, like if you can explain it. So basically there's a real drive, and one of the things that I will give Steve Sisolak a lot of credit for is that when he decided to not do that whole regional thing with the, as far as the president, the Electoral College.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I've been trying to explain it to people of why we have an Electoral College. Like, because the founders were really concerned about it being a regional election. Like, only specific regions of the country would elect a president.
Right.
So, but then a lot of my Democrat friends say, well, that's how you Republicans have stolen the White House twice now. And I'm like, well, so can you just explain what the Electoral College is? Because you understand it like at a real in-depth level.
Right. When you look at it, and I'll make it very simplistic. I mean, you have people that complain about. It's like saying they don't like the outcome of the Super Bowl because they don't like the football game.
Right.
The reason is this: the Electoral College makes sure that you're represented. One person, one vote. One man, one vote, as they used to say in the old days, is to make sure that your voice counted. Right now, if you took it and you just did the strong populations, and I'll just say an example, if you took New York and California, well, if they're the ones that are going to elect the president, no one else would matter. Because you'd go on population, the popular vote. That's what they're trying to do is the popular vote. Yeah. So this isn't so much a popularity contest, because then we're going back to, I'll make it even basic, what I made earlier with the districts. Some districts have different needs than other districts. Same thing, the people in middle America, Southern America, don't have the same needs as people back east, don't have the same needs as the people in the west. And that's what you have to represent, is you're representing all of America. And that puts all of us in play with Electoral College. And that's where you're able to have representation. Your voice counts. Because at the end of the day, if you went to election night and you just did the popular vote, open up with New York, California comes on, game over. It wouldn't even matter. You wouldn't care. So the Electoral College, when you start to look at it, is as you start to get the electoral votes, it matters because that's how you take the states, and that's how it gets down to Nevada's important. Don't forget, we're first in the West. We've maintained first in the West against all odds.
Do you get along with all the county chairmen?
No. I mean, look, I'll fight for them, but to say do I get along with them? Yes. Do we get along all the time? No. Let me rephrase it that way.
Which ones don't you get along with?
Put it this way: they put everything they could to try and take me out this last election, and
that is true.
They got demolished. Yeah. No, I have a strong relationship with the county people, the people in the counties. Kind of like the same thing with the president. You're talking about what you see is what you get, and we've been able to turn this ship. I have full support of the President of the United States. He endorsed me in my last election. He's endorsed my leadership now. Actually, if you look at today's speech, he mentions Nevada. And I wasn't in it. I was at the meeting I had this morning, but he mentioned Nevada again in his speech this morning at the White House. Nevada's important. Nevada's important because we have stability.
Right.
And if you don't have stability, you're going back to the old days. So having the President of the United States and obviously the President's campaign team and the RNC behind us, that's important. So when you look at, just say, oh, we've lost this election. No, it's a whole area. People can look outside and we lost last elections. But what were those factors? What kept Republicans home last election? What made sure they didn't vote for a Republican? If you start to look at not only the demographics you mentioned, but a lot of our people that left the Republican Party went independent. They're like, I'm not going to vote because look what he did for the president. It could be a vindictive. It could be, people get weird with their vote.
Right.
I don't like the shirt you wore today. I don't like your haircut. I don't like your goatee. You wouldn't believe some of the stuff they said. You don't act presidential enough. You don't act governor enough. And
how do they know?
But that's just, they have a preconceived notion. That's part of politics. But when you start to look at it, then you have buyer remorse the next day. We now have the taxes going up. Our gun rights are in jeopardy right now. They've become a very liberal legislature. The whole view of Nevada is being changed. We used to have a very strong state. It was red and blue, where everybody got something. The old days, they worked together. This last legislature was very partisan. They're like, no, if you're Republican, I don't want to talk to you.
One of the things that I find interesting about how polarizing President Trump is because, and I don't know if you'll agree with this or not, but just a brief summary of it. And I just summed it up. I said, I don't understand why you have such a problem with Trump. I guess they don't think he talks presidential enough or whatever. He fights back, which is something that most Republican presidents haven't done in recent years. Reagan fought back, but he was a little more polite about it. He understood it better. He understood the game a little better. But the way I broke it down is I said, you do realize that, like, Trump, yes, he's a Republican, but he's more of a pragmatic leader than you guys realize. I said a lot of the decisions on how he conducts foreign policy, he conducts foreign policy much more like a traditional Democrat would, and economics more like a Republican would. So I said he's very pragmatic in his approach on stuff. I think if you would just take a step back and stop with this whole Trump derangement syndrome and just you hate Trump and actually calm down a minute and actually understand what's going on, and that would help.
Biggest thing about him, he approaches from a business aspect. From the day one he took office, and I have ringside seats, so I'm honored, I'm blessed. Never thought I'd be there. But to be able to watch what he approaches as a businessman, like a smart businessman would. Take China, for example. We know we're losing money with China. So if you're in a business and you have a business partner that's stealing from the company, which is exactly what China was doing, we got the short end of the stick every time. But because of our leadership, everybody kept bowing, they kept giving it away. And he's like, no. We want to get our share too. And don't forget, those tariffs hurt people in Nevada. We have big corporations here that have businesses in Macau and in China. They're like, wait. Those are huge supporters of his. And he's like, guys, stick with me, trust me. It'll happen. Also, the world now has taken notice. He's rebuilt our military. The first day he got in office, this is something that a lot of people don't know, they were told by the military generals, the leaders, said, don't get into a war, we don't have enough ammunition. Think about that. Think about what your guys experience. We don't have enough ammunition to go to war with somebody.
Wow.
We'd be almost stuck like in World War II when we had to rebuild our military after the bombing of Pearl Harbor. First thing Trump did is like, oh, no. This guy went to a military academy, so he knows what it takes. He has that structure of leadership. He immediately started rebuilding the military. In America now, in the world, they know if you come after America, this president doesn't draw a red line in the sand to be dramatic. He draws a line. If you cross that red line, we're coming. You kill an American, we're coming to take out your entire country. And that's the point where it has to be that America's there to help, but it's peace through force. That if you're going to harm an American, you're going to try to hurt America, we're going to defend ourselves. And that's the one thing I think that a lot of our leaders have gotten away with. They're saying, it's so archaic in the Middle East that they'll do anything. They cut people's heads off. If you're in a street fight, and I'm not advocating violence, but if you're in a street fight, I'm not going to fight you with Queensberry rules of boxing, and you're a grappler. I'm coming after you with everything I got. I'm going to use whatever resources I have to make sure you know that if you come after me again, you're going to think twice.
Well, I tell a lot of
That's
people
the
on the
difference.
mat that a street fight is way different than what you guys are doing.
Right. Oh, exactly. No, I mean, look, there's nothing off limits.
We don't
Street
look
fight-
for a referee.
No. And everything's open, baby. And I think
There is no tap out.
right. Yeah, exactly.
Hey, I'm tapping. Take the choke
and
off.
you know, when you leave that fight, you may be leaving something there. That's the difference. If you're going to leave something in a street fight, you may walk away with an appendage missing. So the difference is the same, and I don't advocate violence for all your listeners. What I'm saying is,
Coming from a former Metro police officer.
and a street kid who grew up, fighting. So I'm a boxer. I've done the martial arts. I've done the whole thing.
It's kind of like what my mom always said. She always told me, she goes, Jim, if you can walk from a fight, walk from it. If you can talk your way out of it, talk your way out. Sometimes, like, if you really have to, if you can run away from a fight, maybe. But if they back you in the corner, you kill them.
You got to fight.
It doesn't matter what you need to do. You
Right.
just
My pride won't let me run away from a fight. It just
Because you're a Marine, that's why.
It just won't allow me because
You
it'll
got to
eat me
take
up
that
inside.
and put that in sin. Steve would see him on the street like, I can't believe I walked away last week.
So how does one become a delegate?
Oh, you go, first of all, we're endorsed to the President of the United States, right? And then Chairman Sajak and the board here, that we're having precinct meetings. So you'll go to the precinct meetings, which is coming up. I don't have the dates, I apologize, but they're on Clark County's website, and we'll have them on the state's website as well. And then you go to the next one, and you get voted in to become a delegate from the next meeting, I believe is in March. And then that will take you up into become a delegate to the state, and then the state meeting you can get voted on nationally. So that's when you get. So there's three things, and the meeting is going to be held up in Reno. It's May 15th, I believe, for a state convention, and then you get voted in as a delegate from there. There's a cost to go to the state convention. It has to be held in Reno by our bylaws. Presidential's up there.
How much does it cost?
It'll probably be about $100 for the meeting. Clark County, I think, is $50. So about $150 total for the whole. Once you go to the county convention and to the state convention.
You know, I never went for a delegate. I was thinking about it.
You should.
Yeah.
It's a great experience, and
I was in 08. I was a county delegate,
yeah,
but I didn't go to state. I didn't go to the state one.
it's a great experience.
I want to go all the way to national when right behind you when you say Nevada.
And I can enunciate Nevada, not Nevada. I hate
hate
people
that.
It's like nails on a chalkboard when someone does that. It's like, oh man.
Me too. I'm saying.
But I think you have great leadership in the sense, the state. We may have different ways to bring it forward. Washoe has theirs, Clark County has theirs, the rurals have theirs. But at the end of the day, it's all about, this is what I can tell you the most. Everybody has their own kind of ideas.
Right.
It's from the top down. And there's some leaders that, it can't be top down, it needs to be bottom up. That's an anti-Trump sentiment.
Yeah.
Because if you don't elect the president, they're not coming out to elect the dog catcher and then go up to the president. They're coming out to elect the president,
Yep.
and then they'll elect the dog catcher. And you're a fool if you don't believe that. When you have people nationally that get paid a lot of the money to do this, and they're telling you the same thing that I've been doing since I was 5 years old, I think I know a little bit more than you when it comes to politics. So, if I'm on the right side with the RNC, I'm on the right side with the White House, I'm on the right side with the President Trump's team, and I'm on the right side with the president, you might want to just give me the benefit of the doubt.
How often do you go to the White House?
I was just there Wednesday.
Okay. This is like every month, or
Pretty much a couple times a month.
okay.
So
Unless I get in trouble and I get called back.
I got one last question for you, and this is a loaded question. You can, I don't think you will because I know you might, but you can dodge it if you want. But like,
So let's kind of set up as this. This is great. I love this question. You can dodge it. You can dodge.
He's setting you up.
I know it's gonna be
but you can run away from
It's
it.
gonna be a
no.
fastball. Look, I'll run away. Don't think I won't.
no. Here's the thing. Like, I wish you would have been a county party chair first. I mean, you do a great job as a state party chair. Like, honestly, like, I really appreciate everything you're doing. But like, me personally, like, I get asked all the time, why don't you go to CCRP meetings? And I'm like, it's just a mess.
Yeah.
Like, so, I mean, as I know you don't have a lot of control over it, but as a state party chair, like, are you trying to kind of help them out at all? Because, like, since I got involved in 2007, like, it just...
You say he's not motivated now.
And it's one of those things, like, what we're talking about, like, even at the grassroots, like, the Clark County Republican Party, like, no one even knows who that is except for a very select few of people that show up and they have some we were all e-board members together, we know.
Right, yeah.
Is there anything you're trying to do behind the scenes to kind of help them out a little bit?
Yeah,
or?
look, it also goes to personalities. Anybody who's involved in politics, you'd be lying to yourself if you don't think personalities play a role in it. But you have to be able to look past that.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And you can give people advice, and you can try and guide them along the way. Yeah. But I'm in the same position as President Trump. There's people in Clark County that just hate me regardless. I could show them the way to the promised land. They wouldn't go because it's me. Yeah. In the same respect, I have people that are very loyal, and they'll go to war with me to defend the President of the United States. Mm-hmm. It all goes back to the leadership. And sometimes there's an old saying, Pat Cassell says, some people just don't know they don't know, but they think they do. So I think we have wonderful leaders, and it's just a matter of telling them to put your pride in your back pocket and come work with us. There's more rumors and lies that have been circulated among senior citizens, people that are older, people that should know better. Right. They become like school grounds. And guys, don't listen to rumors. If you hear something, call me up. I'm the most successful. Yeah, everybody has my number.
You don't have to put Julie on blast like that.
Yeah. Are you still dealing with America for Prosperity? Or?
I get along with everybody. AFPs, I talk to AFPs.
How about that one group? What's that group called? Veterans something.
Veterans in Politics?
Yeah,
I haven't talked to them very much lately. No, it's, I think the chairman has the board has their own agenda. No, look, it's been great. I can tell you, when you go to war with people and you see what happens, we open this segment talking about that. You know who your friends are.
You want to show everybody that?
I do. This is my friend and our President of the United States. This is probably one of the greatest headlines. It's acquitted. And the whole thing was political. It was a scam.
$40 million later.
$40 million later.
All we got is this lousy newspaper.
Yeah, that's all they're ever going to get. That's all they're ever going to get.
On that, Mike, one of the things that I was talking about with a very liberal friend of mine, and she is a friend, I said, what's unfortunate is that when Bill Clinton, when the Republicans impeached Bill Clinton, like, honestly, like, there was a reason to impeach him, but basically for political reasons, I was like, leave it alone. The country
that's
has,
the way I felt too.
The country has other stuff to worry about. Just knock it off.
You're human first.
And then, and then with the Trump thing, and I read an article, like, when they first were talking about impeaching him, and I was like, if we're going to get to a point in this country where every time the President of the United States does not have at least a simple majority in the House, that we're going to impeach the president, like, how close are we to becoming a parliamentary government?
Right. It'll actually become a standstill.
Yeah.
If you have somebody who doesn't have a strong personality like him, the next guy or woman's going to come in there and just play it real safe, like, I'm not going to do anything.
Yep.
And that's going to be the problem.
Or resign when the pressure gets...
Look, I can tell you, I know the family on a personal level, to what they endured.
So you can get me Ivanka's number?
Never.
Help me out.
No, she's got a great husband, man. You can't do that. She's got a great husband.
I know.
He's
like, I would have a shot even if she didn't have it.
She's gorgeous. She's smart. She's the total package. Oh, who doesn't?
Yeah, like, I'd have a shot even if she was available.
Really Jared, he's a great guy. Really good. But when you look at it from what the family has to endure with day to day and the bad stuff that goes along with it, almost said a bad thing on radio, on TV. When you start to look at what person would endure that much? Right. And I can tell you, this guy is amazing. He maybe 5 hours a day. He's always working. He's always fighting for America. He's finding new ways. And I think the second term you're going to see, he has people surrounding him that are now protecting him.
Right.
Right. He was dealt a bad deck. He brought in people that weren't on his side, and they tried to trip him up everywhere they could. And look, you're going in to become President of the United States. It's different than being a businessman. He's a very successful businessman. Then he's going to do this. Right. It's a different world. So,
You have any final words, Mr. McDonald?
no, man, I said it in the opening, I wouldn't be here without you guys. And I mean it from the bottom of my heart. Thank you very much. And I'd like to dedicate this show to my dad.
Yes,
I lost
Frank.
him.
Yeah.
My dad, he was my best friend. I love him. And
How old was he when he passed?
7 years ago today, he passed. He passed at 87.
He passed today.
Yeah,
Yeah, 7 years ago.
7 years ago.
Jeez.
How old was he?
87.
87.
Yeah, I think that's one of
John
the,
McDonald, my man.
I think that's one of the reasons too why you and I get along so well is because, like, my parents were my best friends.
Oh yeah,
too.
I'm a mama's boy. I'll tell you right now.
Yeah, me too.
I'm a mama's boy, and I was the baddest man walking.
I don't have that same sentiment. So
You're not mama's boy.
no.
Yeah, my mom will on Valentine's Day, February 14th, will been 1 year.
Yeah, it's tough, man.
Yeah,
and,
it
you
is.
know, they
It is
never
tough.
leave you. I lost my mother, it changed my life, and
Yeah.
like something inside you dies. And I lost my dad. And I was wandering aimlessly, and it wasn't surrounded by good friends. And Jolette, you know, she's been my rock for a long time. 2 beautiful sisters. I don't know where I'd be. I really don't. Because it has devastated me.
Do you have any point of contact you want to give the viewers?
No. Not whatsoever. No, please, if you want to contact me, it's McDonald, McDonald, NV for Nevada. So it's McDonaldNV@gmail.com. And that's, if you really got to get a hold of me, it's an emergency, please call either one of these gentlemen. They have my cell.
Hey, Mike, I want to thank you very much. And I also want to, just for all the viewers, I also want to, again, really tell you how much I appreciate Steve Sanson and Mike McDonald both. Neither one of these gentlemen really actually need to be as involved in politics and the different things that they do on a daily basis. They don't have to do that. But they do it because they care and they care about their community. And I think that's something that we really, truly need to encourage everybody to be more active. There's a lot of complaining that goes on about politicians or crooks or the judicial system is corrupt and all this stuff. It's easy to sit around and complain every day about stuff. But you know what? You got to get out there, you got to get active, and you got to get involved, because if you don't, it's the definition of insanity. Stop sitting on your couch and complaining about stuff being wrong. If you're not going to get out there and do something about it, it's just going to continue to happen.
Thank you for that.
Well, sir, yeah, well said.
Well, Mr. McDonald, thank you so much for coming on the
It's
program.
my pleasure, thank you. Hopefully I get invited back once in a while.
What's that again?
I get invited back once in a while.
Oh, absolutely. I thought you said something else. Folks, that's Michael McDonald, Nevada Republican Party Chairman. We like to dedicate this program to John McDonald and Deborah Jonas, and may they rest in peace. This is Steve Sanson, Jim Jonas. Until next time.